this is Mrs. Barber, and today I'm going to be talking to you about Henry VIII and the field of the cloth of gold. Sources are important to historians, and often in an exam paper they will ask you to make an inference about a source. If we were going to do that about this source, it might ask us what we can infer about the meeting and its importance from the picture. So one thing I can say is that I can infer that Henry VIII considered this an extremely important event for his foreign policy, because it shows tents of gold and Henry VIII riding with a huge retinue of men. But what exactly was the field of the cloth of gold? Between 1518 and 1520, Wolsey tried to uphold Henry's reputation as the peacemaker of Europe, which was created by the Treaty of London. To do this, he organised two big conferences between Henry and Charles and Henry and Francis. Henry even turned down an invitation from Charles to ally together in a war against France in order to keep the peace. These meetings were designed to prevent war, but Wolsey really wanted to see what both countries would offer for English support if war broke out between them. England could be a valuable ally for either side, as we could invade northern France or disrupt the Spanish control of the Netherlands. However, peace was always Wolsey's first goal. The most spectacular meeting took place between Henry and Francis in the field of the cloth of gold. This symbolised Wolsey's success in keeping Henry at the centre of events. It was held just outside Calais, which was controlled by England, so it was mutual ground, and it took place in June 1520. Henry and Francis both wanted to show their power and prestige, so they spent huge sums of money on jousting and feasting in this fortnight, all organised by Wolsey. The high point was an unexpected wrestling match between the two kings. This meeting made Henry look like one of the three great rulers of Europe, which was a great achievement. It successfully showed their power and was an occasion that all enjoyed. Wolsey and Henry once more looked like men who were controlling events in Europe. Henry regarded the field of the cloth of gold as a success because it brought him immense honour and prestige. Henry had met Francis, a superpower, on equal terms. To be seen as a great king mattered far more for Henry than ruling England effectively. Wolsey had done as much as anyone could have done to make Henry appear a great king. However, nothing of any significance was really achieved. No decisions were made that would bring peace to Europe. In fact, it made Spain more suspicious of them, thinking that England was taking side with France. Despite this meeting, relations between England and France didn't improve, and it meant that only 2 years later, England and France were at war again. Decisions made elsewhere ended this success as a major war was about to begin between France and the Holy Roman Empire. Once France and Charles decided to go to war against each other, there was nothing that Henry and Wolsey could do to stop them. And it wasn't long before Wolsey and Henry faced a choice. Should they stay out of the war and sit on the sidelines, or should they join the war by allying with either Charles or Francis? They thought that staying on the sidelines was impossible, as it would make England and Henry look powerless. After some consideration, they chose Charles as their ally, because it was natural to go to war against France, who was England's traditional enemy. So, the sorts of things that you should be revising for this are the following. Firstly, what was the motives behind the arranging of the field of the cloth of gold? Secondly, what were the key features of the field of the cloth of gold? What were the successes and what were the failures of the field of the cloth of gold? And in these terms you can think with regards to short term and long term. In an exam question about the success or failure of foreign policy, you could also consider whether this was more or less successful than other foreign policy events such as the Treaty of London. Thank you for listening. This is Sia Al-Baba, 1977.